I've always had anxiety. It's one of the things I've had since I was a child. Every time, even if it was Bordentown, the first song of every set we ever played, my leg would be shaking during the first song.
Welcome, everyone, to This Was The Scene, the podcast that takes a look back at the late 90s, early 2000s New Jersey punk scene. I am your host, Mike Doyle. Shower with Goats existed as part of the NJPP. As anyone who don't know what that means, that's the New Jersey pop punk scene from 1994 to 2000. They were well known for their unique blend of raw, upbeat punk tunes backed with emphatic vocals. Their influences range from many bands including 15, Face to Face, Quit, Big Drill Car, All, Rhythm Collision, and even Crass on occasion. They went on to release several 7-inch records, one full-length, and copious unreleased tracks on scattered compilation releases. My old band, Conquers a Cow, who later became Lane Meyer, used to play a bunch of shows with these guys back in the day, so I know Steve personally, which made this a really fun interview. They were a staple band in what people can argue is the Central or South Jersey scene. The two of us got on a call, and this is what we discussed. His not-for-profit record label, the Westboro Baptist Church, the Derby Firehouse, his love for the Ramones, Less Than Jake staying with him for a week when they were on tour and playing in his living room, their song I Eat You breaking the ice at shows, struggling with shyness and depression, but being in a band helped break him out of it. The Carlisle, Pennsylvania debacle of a show where my band Conquers a Cow played with them, and it also started the end of my band Conquers a Cow. Their LP cover being designed by Pete Wonsowski, I hope I said that right, who also designed the artwork for Less Than Jake, or a lot of artwork for Less Than Jake. The record label Springman putting out a comp at the very end of Lane Meyer and putting Fallon's song Alarm on there instead of a different song, which would have made more sense, but whatever. His recent lottery winnings, his split 7-inch with Chris from Less Than Jake, and a ton more. Make sure you check out his Not-For-Profit Records webpage at notforprofitrecords.bandcamp.com. His Facebook page could also use some more likes and follow, so if you want to help out, just click on the link in the show notes or just search for Not-For-Profit Records in the search bar on Facebook and then go help him out. This week's episode is sponsored by Southern Tier Distilling Company. Building on 300-plus years of Western New York spirit production, Southern Tier Distilling Company puts that heritage into every bottle. Now expanding their market to New Jersey, Delaware, and Ohio, more of us can enjoy these premium spirits such as Southern Tier Distilling Company Straight Bourbon, Silver Medal Award-winning vodka, smoked bourbon, and their 2X hopped whiskey, a whiskey distilled from their gold medal-winning 2X IPA. In addition to their spirits, they also have their premium canned cocktails. Currently in the market are their gin and tonic with elderflower and cucumber, the bourbon smash with ginger, mint, and lemon, and the vodka madras with cranberry, orange, and chamomile. Great for camping, the beach, tailgating, the golf course, and the golf course. They're now sporadically in markets around the U.S., so ask your local shops for their offerings to get them in your local shop. Check out Southern Tier Distilling at stdcspirits.com. and follow them on Instagram at southern_tier_NJ. Southern Tier, why the hell not? I'd also like to give a plug to my animation company, drive80.com, drive80.com, to anyone out there who is a marketing director that is looking to unsuckify their brand's message. We do this by telling your story within 60 seconds or less using animation. You should go check it out, again, at drive80.com. These are explainer animations. You put them on the homepage of your website. You email them before a sales call. I don't know. There's 50 ways you can use it. But, yeah, they're great, and they help me sustain a living because I make money off of them. Okay. As always, thank you to the people who've donated to the podcast. If you also would like to do so, just go to thiswasthescene.com and send whatever you'd like. It just helps with the $20 a month to keep this thing live. And you can also buy some t-shirts and some stickers. All the proceeds go to the podcast. And the holidays are coming up, so they'd be great gifts for your mom. Feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with anyone who you know would love some nostalgia. With that said, let's get started. Today, I have Steve Papp, who people have mistakenly pronounced it as Papp, also known as Steve. I used to call him Steve with Goats, also known as Steve Neurotic. And Steve was the lead singer, basically was Shower with the Goats. But yeah, he was the singer of Shower with Goats and was basically the band Shower with Goats, in my opinion. But I hope I introduced you correctly there.
Yeah, the only thing is, still am the singer of Shower with Goats.
Oh,
A lot
that's
of people
right.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, you keep it going. When's the last time you really actually released something?
2013. We did 2 songs. One was against Shirley Phelps Roper from the Westboro Baptist Church. It was a track called Dear Shirley, with a second track called But Ugly. And for a while, it was only on the Bandcamp site, available for download. And we just recently released Just Another Day, our first record, 20th anniversary version. And it's on vinyl for the very first time. And we added those 2 tracks as bonus tracks to the end of the record.
Is that on your label? Your non-for-profit label?
Yeah, my not-for-profit records label. We released that about 20 years to the day of the original release of Just Another Day. And it also has our first 2 7-inches added on there, too, because we had a lot of extra space on the vinyl. So I said we might as well maximize it and, and get as many tracks as we can, since basically all of our shit's out of print,
Yeah.
So
No, that's awesome. I actually, I was doing a little research, and I saw that you had posted, I think it was on Facebook, that you said, hey, it was here. It was Shirley Phelps Roper retweeted the video I just posted.
Oh, yeah. This was back.
Yeah.
This was back during the, what was it called? You remember the Sandy Hook school shooting in Connecticut in 2013?
Yeah.
Well,
is that when they were like, those idiots were saying it was all bullshit and all that?
Well, about the Westboro Baptist Church. I mean, they'll go and picket, funerals of
soldiers and crap,
of gay soldiers, and hold up, stupid signs like God hates fags and they deserve to die and crap like that. And I have some friends that are involved with the group Anonymous. Which I'm sure you probably heard of.
Holy shit.
And when I heard about that, I got involved because, I mean, these are school kids, that it's just wrong. And it made me write a song called Dear Shirley, which is about that and talks about, that they're picketing, or were planning to picket. They did picket that, and it was basically a FU, to her and to the Westboro Baptist Church. And what ended up happening was so many people got together that when they showed up to the funerals of the people that died, the children, a whole wave of people blocked the Westboro people so that the families of the kids that had passed away couldn't see any of the Westboro people.
Jesus.
I mean, Hell's Angels got involved. A bunch of anonymous members got involved. Even members of the KKK got involved.
Jesus
I mean,
Christ.
Even they thought it was wrong. And there was an incident in a hotel room not far from where the funeral was going to be, like the day before, where there's people from Anonymous, Hell's Angels members, and KKK members sitting in the same room talking.
Jesus
I mean,
Christ.
I mean, it's, that's how strongly they felt about this. And, our contribution was, we did that song, or I just felt motivated to write that song. And we recorded it. Well, I was living in North Carolina at the time, in Charlotte.
Okay.
And I recorded my parts there, and the other 2 members live in Pennsylvania. And they recorded their parts there, and I had it mixed in North Carolina. And basically what I tell people is Shower with Goats is, never, technically broken up since our reunion in 2007, but we're going to be one of those bands that every, 6-7 years we'll get together, we'll record something new, we'll maybe play a show or two, and then we'll disappear again for, another 6 or 7 years. And we actually released an album in 2009. A lot of people don't know about it. It was called Reflection. It's a full-length album, was available on CD. It's still available on the Not-for-Profit Records site as a digital download.
Nice.
But we recorded all new tracks, and it was produced by Addison Burns. He was the vocalist of Quit, and he's in the Ship Thieves now.
Okay.
And also the co-owner of the studio who also produced it is Darren Newfer, who used to play baritone sax in Less Than Jake, and he was also in Bloodhound Gang.
He was in Bloodhound Gang? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, when I went to their studio, there was like a gold record plaque in hanging on the wall and had his name on it, and I was like, "You're in Bloodhound Gang?" And he was like, "Yep." And he did stuff on some of their albums. I think including that one that had, what's that song? Is it the roof is on fire or something?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think he played on that album. Don't quote me on that, but I think he did.
What was the one that was like the hit
stuff.
single? It was like the You and Me Baby Ain't Nothing But Mammals.
Yeah.
Whatever that song was, that probably got them a lot of bank.
Absolutely. But
yeah,
that
I remember.
Studio is defunct now. But we recorded and that there in late 2008, and the CD came out in 2009.
That's cool that you guys are still putting out songs, and I think that it's nice to just throw a couple out here and there instead of. Sometimes I think people ask for the full, like, it's like when people talk about an old movie and they want a remake of it, or they want the next version of it, and when it comes out, they're like, I think people love to have a taste of something, but I don't think like the full meal is what I've been kind of saying lately. It's putting out a song or two, people are jazzed about it because it's like it keeps them excited for more, but if you gave them like 10 more songs, they're kind of like, all right.
Well, when we did the full length, it had been 10 years or more since we had put anything out, and I had all these songs that I had been writing since we originally broke up before the reunion show. So those became Shower with Goats songs on the Reflection record, and that was out in 2009.
Nice.
Some of those songs had been written, a year or two after Shower with Goats broke up. I was still writing the entire time. So I never put down my guitar, never, stopped singing at home. I just didn't have them professionally recorded until we got back together.
Yeah. Is it the same guys that have been in the band since the beginning?
No, because they, moved, or, they have families now and full, jobs, and they just, they're not in the situation, even, part-time, to be able to do something like that. The way their lives are going now.
Yeah.
It was actually, you remember Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. Well, I definitely want to bring that up.
But there was a band from there called Poor Boy. They were back in the probably late 90s, and the drummer, Ed, was a big fan of Shower with Goats, and every time we played Carlisle would come out to see us. And in around 2006, he sent me a message. I think it was on Facebook. He found me and he messaged me and, told me how much he loved the band, and he wished we would get back together and all this stuff. And my parents back then were living in Pennsylvania, maybe a few hours from then. So I said, you know what? I said, if you could get a bassist together and you have a practice space, next time I'm up there, I'll come down by you and we could jam out some, old Shower with Goats tunes. And he was like thrilled. I mean, it was like, kind of like a dream for him, which was really cool to be able to do that. An old fan, to be able to have him play with us the songs he grew up listening to. And we just clicked. And I said, you know what? I said, this felt amazing after all this time. I said, how do you guys feel about doing a reunion show? Because one of the guys in the group, the North Jersey pop punk group, Aaron Kokis, he's an old friend of mine. And he also had been, bugging me for years back then to do a Shower with Goats reunion show. And after this all happened, I contacted him and I said, hey, you know how you've been bugging me for years to do a reunion? I said, well, buddy, now's your chance.
That's awesome.
And he set it up. It was at the, what's it called? That place that Dave from, I think he was in Your Mom Will Love Us, or he was involved with them. Big beard. I can't remember his last name. It's not Locane.
Dave Locane. Yeah. He has the basement shows all the time. God damn it! I just said this in the Boxcar interview.
The bar that he works at.
Yeah, I'm looking him up on Mill Hill Basement. That's it.
Yeah, that's where the reunion show was in 2007.
Yep, I remember Dave going to shows all the time back in the day when we'd be down in South Jersey. I called it South Jersey. How did you describe Bordentown or Trenton area? Because that's where you live,
Central,
right?
Central Jersey.
Okay. And there's a big discussion about that. Apparently, that's all over the internet of where North and South Jersey are in Central Jersey.
And although we were from Hightstown, East Windsor, Bordentown, as far as music and our band went, was basically our home.
Yeah.
That's where all of our friends were. That's like the Derby Firehouse was our home. That felt like home to us. That was, our crowd. That was our scene. I used to watch all those bands go and play. But
yeah, man, that was a big. I remember it being a big hall. If I went there now, would it seem as big?
Probably. I don't even know what the building looks like today, or if it changed any, or anything like that. I mean, for me, it probably would be, because where I live right now,
You're in
I've
Texas
been going
right
to,
now, right?
Yeah, I'm in San Antonio.
Okay.
And really, the only place that I frequent is this small punk rock dive bar called the Bang Bang Bar.
Okay.
It's owned by a couple girls that are in two bands that are on Joan Jett's label, Blackheart Records.
Oh, wow.
And it's this retro punk dive bar, and like Dolly Rots have played there several times, and several other bands, I've gone to see, and it's small compared to the Bordentown Firehouse. I mean, it's, not even a quarter of the size, I don't think. So, thinking about it, I would have to say, that was a big place.
Yeah, I just remember the parking lot. I mean, there's that video that's online where it's got us, you guys, and Humble playing clips of that show.
Yeah, I took that, and you could see Gabe giving me the finger in the parking lot. I laugh every time I see that. I'm good old Gabe.
It's such a funny video because it really encapsulates, I believe, what it felt like to be at a show. The bands were playing, and when they were done playing, and there was that amount of time between that band and the next band, everyone would go outside and hang and smoke cigarettes or go talk to
exactly,
man. And we're all it's so crazy seeing that, because it's like I'm in it and I'm like 2 pounds and I'm like Jesus Christ, I look so young there. We're hanging out in our shitty van, and I think like Antonio was there possibly from the Dharma Boys, and like just like we all look so fucking young. But before we get too far into all that, though, I want to go back, like I start every interview, and just kind of just give people an introduction on how you actually got into music. Like what bands got you into loving music?
Well, I was always into music from a very young age. My late mother was very into music and used to have records, and she used to let me play and borrow her records. And I used to remember entire song lyrics when I was 4 or 5 years old, and I would run around our place singing. The first song I learned was an early 60s song called Runaway by Del Shannon.
Okay.
And if you heard it, you'd probably know it. It's, played on oldie stations.
Yeah.
But I used to run around the apartment singing that. And after my mom got sick of me, always borrowing her records and using her record player, they got me my own on my 6th birthday.
Nice.
And that Christmas of that year, I think was 84, I went to visit my first cousin in North Jersey, and my older sisters and my cousin lived in Lodi and went to high school with the guys in the Misfits.
Oh shit.
And in Lodi High School. And that Christmas, my cousin, I told him that I got a record player. Because he had a ton of records and he was a punk rock dude, tattoos and all the works. And this is, 84. And he gave me Ramones' Too Tough to Die LP and a 7-inch by the Plasmatics called Butcher Baby, with Wendy O, that girl that used to put electrical tape on her nipples. Yeah. And, here I was a 6-year-old singing along to Butcher Baby, and but what really caught me was the Ramones. I put on the B-side first.
Okay. And
I think the first song on the B-side was Chasing the Night. That was the first Ramones song I heard, and I fell in love with them, and they've been my favorite band ever since to this day. The Ramones are more than just a band to me. I feel like they are responsible for who I am today. Like they're that big a part of me. Their music just influenced my life, influenced me being a part of the punk rock scene and identifying, as punk, especially, when I was younger.
What was it about their music though? What was the thing that triggered you to love them so much?
It was just so catchy. So, I used to bop around my room, as a little kid singing along to their music. It was just so easy to listen to and so catchy. I'd want to play the songs over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And Joey's voice, there's no one else like him. No one could ever replace him. I've always loved his vocals, and I don't know what to say other than that. They're just, in my opinion, one of the greatest bands to ever walk the face of the earth.
Are they the reason? Well, I think it's a stupid question, but are they the reason that you picked up a guitar and started playing? Like, what did you do first? Did you learn how to play guitar? Or did you learn how to sing or learn how to play piano or like fucking saxophone? Like what?
Well, I taught myself how to sing basically on my own from when I was a little kid. Mm-hmm. And I had like metal bands with, you remember the drummer Dave from Shower with Goats.
Yep.
I had metal bands, 2 metal bands with him, and one of them turned into Shower with Goats. The second band we were in, it was called MNFST for short, which it had a stupid name, just like Shower with Goats. It stood for Microwavable Nuns from Satan's Territory. But it became Shower with Goats. We put out 3 demo tapes, and by the second demo tape, there was one pop punk song on the second demo tape and one song that was like Pennywise influenced.
Okay.
And after that,
wait, what was the name of that song? Because there's a bunch of songs on the NJPP archive.
Those songs won't be on there.
Okay. It was like literally.
Yeah, they're not.
I don't know, man. Joe's pretty good.
Yeah, I never really released them online except giving links to a few friends, but I plan on grabbing a couple of those songs. They're on cassettes.
Okay.
So I plan on because I made a small recording studio in my house.
Oh, nice.
That I record all my solo stuff on, which we could get to later. But I'll have to run those tapes through my studio and make them sound as clean as I can. You know, not the full things because some of the songs are just awful. But the last thing we put out was a 7-inch record called Fantod, and it was all pop punk. We did a cover of 15's Petroleum Distillation on there. And a few of those songs are actually 3 out of the 4 songs are on the Shower with Goats Bandcamp site. 2 of them were on the Getting Lucky CD that a Japanese label called SP Records put out in 2008. It was basically a best of, and it had, I think, 35 tracks on it, including a bunch of unreleased stuff. And 2 of the songs were on there. And the 15 cover is on a digital release on our Bandcamp page called Our Apologies. And it's basically like, you know, screw ups or, you know, songs that weren't good enough for the best of, in our opinion.
Yeah.
So that is available online.
Well, how did you go from a metal band to a punk band with Dave? Like, and then who was your bass player? Mike?
Our original, well, let me first mention this. In the MNFST 7-inch, the Fantod 7-inch, it says, from now on, MNFST will be known as Shower with Goats in the insert. Most people don't realize that. And Mike left after that, and we had to find a new bass player and a new guitarist, second guitarist we found. And there were these friends of our original drummer for Shower with Goats and who played on the Fantod 7-inch was this girl, Shane, was our original drummer. And she was also the drummer on the Shower with Goats demo tape, the 8-song and the 6-song demo tape.
Right.
She was the drummer on. And we had this guy, Cooper, on second guitar. And we had a guy, Chris Chard, playing bass. But actually, Chris Chard was the second bassist. First, we had a guy named Colin Egan, who had also been in one of Dave and I's metal bands. But he unfortunately passed away from heroin overdose, and we had no clue that, you know, he was even using.
That was recent, or that was way back when you got?
No, that was way back. That was way back. And but he passed away after he left the band. Basically, he just stopped showing up for practice, and that's when I contacted Mike, who was on the Fantod 7-inch with us, and I said, "Hey," I said, "we need a new bass player," and he was like, "Why didn't you call me originally?" And I was like, "I don't know. You were busy doing shit, you know." So I got him in, and then Cooper left, and we became a 3-piece.
Yeah.
But the one-sided 7-inch on Springman, Cooper and Chris Chard were still on. But after that, it was me, Mike, and Dave. We became a 3-piece.
Yeah.
And that lineup we had for about 2.5 years. The Just Another Day CD was me, Mike, and Dave.
Well, before you get that far, though, so I want to kind of like get into how you actually found the local scene. Did you, because you listened to the Ramones, you started this metal band with Dave,
right?
And then when you guys did that, were you attending like local shows prior to this, or did you just start saying, I just want to do this in my basement, and then somehow you're like, oh shit, there's these shows around town that we can go and play at?
Well, originally I used to go to City Gardens in Trenton.
Okay.
It was like the place where all the big punk bands played. I mean, Green Day played there back before they were on a major label. Fugazi played there. I saw the Ramones there with the Bouncing Souls open.
Jesus.
I saw Pennywise with the Offspring, but the Offspring was opening for Pennywise. Wow. This is before Offspring got big.
Yeah.
And I used to go to shows there, and there was this one band that I became friends with. They were called Black Train Jack.
Yep.
They were out of New York, and I became good friends of theirs, and they introduced me to some people, and some of the shows they played were in smaller venues in New York and Jersey, so I got my first taste of smaller venues that way. But what really got me into the local scene, and this also is what spawned us to play live, because we were together like a year and a half before we played our first show, which is almost unheard of, for bands. It was January 1995, and I was staying with the bass player from Quit in Miami, and he took me around to a bunch of local record shops. And at all the record shops, I said, okay, I want, 7 inches and demo tapes of all the good local bands, all the good local pop punk bands and ska punk bands. And one of the things I picked up was some Less Than Jake stuff. And in one of the Less Than Jake tapes, or 7 inches, was a little note that said, hey, we're going on our first tour this summer. We need places to stay and places to play. And it had the drummer Vinny's phone number in it. And my parents were always cool about, bands crashing over and stuff like that, and they were almost never home anyway, because we had like a summer place in Pennsylvania, and they would go spend weeks there, especially by the time I was 15, 16, they would be gone sometime for, a month. And
oh, wow.
I called them and I said, hey, I could give you a place to stay for a week for, all of your Jersey, PA, and New York shows. And I could put on a small show in my parents' living room, dining room area that was connected. And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah. After talking to them for a while, I could tell that they were nice guys and, weren't going to trash the place, hopefully. But, what I got from them. So I invited them, and they came and they stayed with me for like a week, and I went to all the shows with them. And one of those shows was in my parents' living room.
Wow.
And we hadn't played any shows live. I guess it was, I've always had kind of stage fright, which a lot of people don't know.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? I said, Less Than Jake is, I'm doing a show in my house, and Less Than Jake, who was an up and comer, and then a bunch of other bands were playing. I said, we got to play this. So we practiced, and we played our first show in my parents' living room. And we already had a demo tape and everything recorded by this point with the previous drummer, Shane.
So you guys had a demo tape and you hadn't even played a show yet.
Exactly.
No shit.
And a 7-inch, that Fantod 7-inch.
That's amazing.
So we played that show, and that's how we met the guys from Boxcar, because it was me, Dave. We were still a 4-piece at that point. And Cooper was friends with the guys. They used to call themselves the New Jersey Boot Boys from New Brunswick. Bands like Hide Nick Stew, Immaculate Abortion. And the guy Junior did a radio show on the Rutgers station. And they're all very, very nice guys. Do you know who Pedro Serrano is?
Sounds really familiar.
He used to do a lot of like open word things. He'd go to punk shows and try and educate the younger kids, about the scene and what it's about, and especially around the time, because Green Day was getting big, Offspring was getting big, so he would come to the local shows and he would talk for a few minutes during some of the sets. Amazing guy.
No shit.
But our guitarist Cooper was friends with that crew, and that's how we met Boxcar, the original lineup with Derek, Newman, and Jay.
Jay, yeah. Okay. I see that. I think I see where this is going.
And they came to the show at my house, and they invited us or hooked us up with a show that they mentioned in Bordentown that was outside in this huge backyard. This guy built a stage. This guy, Dave, who was in a band named Heather. They weren't punk. They were more like gothic meets indie rock, or I don't even remember what they sounded like. But they got us on that show. And then they got us on the show after that, which was it was originally called Dugan's Heroes, but then they moved and it changed. They called it The Daily Grind after that. We played a bunch of shows there with Boxcar. But Boxcar is the one who kind of opened up the doors for us with their scene. And I'll never forget that. And I'll always, I always think about that and always appreciate, how much that meant to us, that they did that for us.
Yeah.
Because they had already, pretty decent following at this point. So that opened up a lot of doors for us. And through that, and, through going around with Less Than Jake when they played the shows in the area, and through starting playing our own shows with the guys in Boxcar and some of the other bands that they were friends with, that's kind of how I got introduced to our local scene.
Well, real quick, just the Less Than Jake show, like how many people were in your living room for that show?
Honestly, I don't remember. I think it was 30 or 40. And I remember several of the big guys were holding up my parents' antique china cabinet.
Oh God.
Because it was leaning and moving like it was going to crash over, because, people were jumping around and dancing and everything like that.
Yeah.
And people noticed that, which was very cool of them, to say, hey, we better not let this thing break or fall. It looks old and special, which it was. It was my great grandmother's cabinet.
Jesus, dude, that's so fucking crazy, man. Your first show is that with them there, and it's like,
I know,
your china cabinet is getting held up probably by the guy like Big Dave, and that's so fucking crazy. Sorry, I just had to really dive into that more because that's such a great story.
It was a lot of fun. Jeez. It was a lot of fun.
Was that when Pezcore was the album they were touring on, or was this before that when they had the 7 inches with?
It was they just had 7 inches and a tape. I don't know if they called it a demo tape. Better Class of Losers. Maybe the 10-inch had come out on Far Out. It was called Making Fun of Things. Jesus. Or something like that. But they didn't have any CDs out yet. I think Pezcore might have been in the works. Okay. Possibly. This was the exact date of the show was July 3rd, 95.
Wow.
That was the exact date. And Joe just posted a flyer from it, I think yesterday in the 1995 Flyers.
Oh, shit.
It says Less Than Jake at the top, and it has this punk girl on it, and it says Shower with Goats at the bottom. And it's actually a ripoff of my friend Chris Barrow's band Pink Lincolns from Florida. I had an old show flyer from 95 that I just cut out the band names and stuff of, because I worked at a copy shop at that time, like a local chain. So I used to make free flyers, and I made several bands their 7-inch covers for free, like off the clock, when I was by myself. Probably would have gotten in trouble for that, but yeah, I used to make flyers for us and for other bands, and 7-inch covers and crack and peel stickers for us and other bands. So
it's crazy, dude. I just found the flyer. It says at Steve's house, 139 Center Street, Heightstown, New Jersey. Less than Jake, when puberty strikes. Poo poo platters, missing children, 3636. What is that?
Yeah, it's just called 36
with the three.
That's
okay.
Brett from the Resurgence first band. He was on the 4-way split CD with us, and they also played one of those. I forgot what it was called, punk rock something. It was at the VFW in East Windsor. Bigwig played. We played. Boxcar played. There was like, I don't know, 10 or 15 bands, something like that on that flyer. Speed Bump played.
Wait, was that the Pavilion show?
Yeah.
That's where we first met you guys. I've talked about that in the Boxcar interview.
Yeah.
That's when we first met. Boxcar, Bigwig, you guys, Speed Bump. Yeah, that's right, Speed Bump. Holy shit. Yeah, we played outside, and that's when like Bigwig came and you guys closed, because I remember you guys ended with We Fight, and my buddy's brother was with us, Rod Woosley, who he listens to the podcast. I don't want to give him a shout out, but he went nuts when you guys ended with that song, because I guess that was like your closer always.
Yeah, that and I Eat You it was always, people used to call out that song. And I Eat You, I still laugh at it to this day. That song was always an icebreaker if we played someplace that wasn't our scene, like where we were on tour, and if it was a tough looking crowd. I remember we were in Alabama in this really sketchy place on tour.
Sounds about right.
And I said, this song is about eating pussy. And, I started off, and then when I get to the I Eat You part, everybody started dying laughing. We played a hardcore show in Pennsylvania one time with Kiss It Goodbye, who I think was on Revelation, and a bunch of other hardcore bands, and we were the only pop punk band, and I was scared shitless at first. And I started off the show, I got on stage, and I said, "Hey guys, I know you're here to see a bunch of hardcore tonight, but I'm sorry to disappoint you. We're a pop punk band." And they go, "Ah," like that. And I said, "But really, if you think about it, there's only one difference between hardcore bands and pop punk bands. The members of the hardcore bands get all the hot girls, and the guys in the pop punk bands whine about it." And they all started laughing.
That's great.
Then we got into We Fight, and people were dying laughing, and they were dancing through our whole set. I mean, it was great.
That's smart, man. It's interesting that you were smart. Not that you're smart enough to know, but that's a smart approach to going in that. I remember playing shows. We played a metal show once in Maryland, and I mean, there was like this one band that got up there. They're all dressed in black cloaks, had this white light shining from the back, and all the lights are turned off. And we're like, we get up there like, fuck, dude, we're gonna get destroyed. And I remember we were playing, and it was just so awkward. I think my buddy was in the crowd, and some girl next to them goes, "What is this?" And the other guy goes, "I don't know what this is." Because it was such an awkward thing. So to go there and say that to start, I mean, that's hilarious. To just get them to just win. It's like you win their trust first, and then they're like, "All right, we're open to this now."
Yeah.
You guys are playing shows. You did a Less Than Jake show, which obviously threw you right into playing more shows. I'm sure a lot of people were like, "Holy Christ, you're the guy who did that Less Than Jake show." And then you guys started, playing songs. They're like, "Wow," and you guys are writing really fucking catchy songs. So you obviously, from what it sounds like, started to kind of grow in the scene and become a band that people recognized.
Yeah, but like our fourth, fifth show or something like that. I mean, we're starting to either be the headliner or right below the headliner. And, because we had been together, like I said, for over a year before we played. We had a demo out and everything.
Yeah.
So people, when we started playing, people are like, where the hell did these guys come from? We weren't a new band that, was sloppy and didn't, have our shit together. We had been together a while. We had been practicing every week for years. We recorded several times. So it was kind of, different for us.
Why did it take so long, though, for you guys to play? It was just because you had stage fright?
Yeah, and I still do to this day, up until the last Shower with Goats show before the breakup. Most people never noticed this. I don't think anybody ever noticed it unless, I said something. At the beginning of at the beginning of each show that we played, during the first song, my right leg would be shaking.
No shit.
People thought that maybe I was tapping, along or something to the beat, but it was shaking. But after the first song, if it went well, which 9 out of 10 times it did, and, if people were happy and clapping and everything, then my nerves settled. I've always had anxiety. It's one of the things I've had since I was a child.
Yeah.
So every time, even if it was Bordentown, the first song of every set we ever played, my leg would be shaking during the first song.
That's crazy. Well, I mean, that's always a good sign, though. When I was younger, I was in plays, like in high school and shit, and I remember the teacher would always say, it's always a good sign when you get nervous before you play, because that means it's like if you were calm, it was a sign that you weren't ready. For some reason, I don't know why it's always stuck with me. So anytime I would play, I always got mad nervous, but not like to the point where I didn't want to get on stage. But it was the moment that we would be loading our amps onto the stage, and I would turn around and just adjust the mic and say hello before we even got to playing a note. That's when I would just be like, all right, I'm here. I'm in where I need to be, and I'm in the zone right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's such a great feeling, though, just being up there and being in front of people. It was always the worst to get up there and sing a song where no one knew it, and everyone always had their arms folded in front of you, kind of like impress me.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was always a bitch. But then when you came back and people were like smiling and just excited that you were ready to play, that was so fucking badass.
Yeah, and it helped me a lot, being in that band as a person, because I've always on and off struggled with issues with self-esteem and depression, and I used to be very shy. I mean, I couldn't go up and even talk to a girl. I'd piss my pants or something. I'd be so scared.
Yeah.
And once I was in a band and saw that, hey, people like something I'm doing, it gave me confidence.
Yeah.
And I think it might have gave me a little bit too much confidence, because there are certain points I might have been a little bit of a dick back then. And to anyone I was a dick to back then, let me just apologize. But, after being kind of in this shell for so long, and then, experiencing what it feels like to be accepted, I don't know, it just came out, sometimes. Yeah. Like it was, it wasn't intentional. It just was a reaction to, not having that all my life. I was never one of the cool kids, never one of the popular kids. I had very few friends growing up, very shy. So when it, got to a point where, hey, there's people accepting of me, there's a lot of people, cheering and clapping and everything. It was just a whole new experience that I had never had before in my life, feeling, accepted and feeling like comfortable, like, hey, I could talk to these people. And I remember, a lot of times we'd play, a lot of our songs were about girls, as with a lot of pop punk bands. Yeah. So I would say something like, this goes out to all the hot girls in the crowd, or I would point to a guy at the front of the crowd and I would be like, is that your girlfriend? And he'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, well, you better treat her like a princess, because otherwise I'm going to steal her from you. And, of course, they'd both laugh. And, never before would I ever have had the balls to do something like that. I mean, even just walk up and say hi to a girl.
Yeah.
So,
well, it gives you power, man. Being on stage gives you power, because there's something about when a conversation happens, you have 10, 50, 100, some people had like 5,000 people, but they're all staring at you, waiting for you to say something, or they're there to either they're there to hear music, or they're there to hear your music. And there's this power when you're like, I'm talking right now, but then you get a reaction, you get a laugh. Like, I'm the same way. Like, even now, like, I'm afraid to go up to a girl cold and just talk to her. I don't know what it is. I'm like 39 and I still find fear in it. But there's something about, like, you're on stage and you're like, hey, you, hi.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, I can, for some reason, have the balls to do this right now.
Even off stage, after that, I was still confident. After we were done playing, like in the parking lot, I'd go schmooze with people. I'd invite people to Denny's after the show. I'd say, hey, after we're done, we're all going to Denny's if you want to come hang out. And a lot of times car fulls of people, the place would be empty, and car fulls of people would follow us over to Denny's. And of course, the Denny's crew would be pissed off because they were dead. And then all of a sudden, 50 people fill up the entire place and be so pissed off.
And none of us had money.
and I'd go around from booth to booth and hang out and talk with different people. I always, tried to do that. But I do want to mention one very important moment in my time with Shower with Goats.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this meant more to me than anything. It happened several times, but there was one occasion. It was actually at the Derby Firehouse after Just Another Day was released. And this 14 or 15-year-old kid came up to me at the merch table after we were done playing. And he said, he was really nervous. And he said, hey, Steve. And I said, yeah, what's up, man? And he said, I just want to say thank you. And I was like, what for? And he said, your CD, your song Stranded and Back to Me and a bunch of those songs on there helped me get through my breakup with my girlfriend.
Wow.
And that really touched my heart. And I said, you know what? This is why I'm in a band. I don't care about the popularity. I never gave a shit about money. I mean, we were always broke. We never made money. If a kid came up to the table and I'd say, hey, do you have our new CD, our new 7-inch? No, I used all my money to get into the show. I'd give it to him because he wanted it. The fact that someone wanted our music and wanted to hear it, I wanted them to have it.
That's awesome.
This was before MP3s and stuff like that. It meant more to me that they wanted to listen to something that I created. So when that kid said that, that just, it kind of put everything into place. I said, this is why I play. I said, this is worth more to me than anything.
Well, that's what it was. It was connecting with people. There's a song, I was listening to a lot of songs. I remember, actually, it was funny because I was re-listening to Just Another Day. And I want to talk more about that in a minute. But that first song, as soon as I started listening to it, I was like, oh my God, I remember getting this CD at the CD release party, because that was our first show as Lanemeyer. We were still Congress of Cal at the time, but we had just, got Alan and Sean in the band, and we played that show. But I remember we left because we had to go play Skaters World right after your show. We were driving north. We missed you guys play, but we were playing the CD the whole time. And that first song came on, Something Seems Familiar. And I was like, wow, this is catchy as fuck. And so I'm re-listening to this today, like remembering these songs. And the one thing that you said that really stood out to me, and I kind of want to talk about it, is there's a line in one of your songs where you're saying, like, something about, like, why people are so mean to me. Is that Stranded? It's like, well, I just don't know why you're so mean to me. Or, like, what was that lyric?
I'm trying to remember the exact line.
There's a line in that, and it kind of, when you said that you had a hard time in high school, it kind of like it makes sense. That line is so real because that's what you really felt like.
Well, I don't know why all all these girls treat me this way. I've never done a thing to them.
Yeah,
They
like,
keep
why you're so mean to me.
they keep pulling the strings of my heart, and then I'm stranded once again.
Yeah. And it just like, it
Yeah.
sounds like it's so real. You were, the shy guy. I remember the shy guys in high school. I mean, the guys that we surrounded ourselves with, my group of friends, we're still tight to this day. There's like 6 or 7 of us. I should probably know that number since I'm saying we're tight to this day. And we all found each other because we didn't really connect with anyone else. But I remember some kids in school where they didn't really have a group and they were super quiet. And if I ever were to see them outside of high school, and if I saw them on a mic playing a song, I'd be like, holy shit, like that kid is the most quiet person and they're in front of a crowd singing right now. And if I like listened to the lyrics, I'd be like, wow, that's like super raw.
Yeah, I just, always tried to write what was, try to write from the heart, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, our serious songs, we had, goofy songs, but the more serious songs, it's, what I was feeling at the time. It was my venting, my release, to get these feelings out.
And that's what punk rock was, man. It was just literally just being honest and truthful in a very, that music it was easy to write a song, but it was also hard to write a song with a hook.
Yeah. Yeah. I still get writer's block to this day sometimes, and just as I did back then, but other times I'll be laying in bed and something will just pop in my head out of nowhere, and I'll have to jump up out of bed, go in the recording studio and lay down a rough version, because if I don't, by morning it's gone. I'll forget it. Like it happens at the most random times.
Yeah, that always does.
When I'm laying in bed, when I'm watching TV, something just out of nowhere pops in my head. It's so strange.
You know what it is, man? It's when you just sit back and you just let your mind, you stop thinking about stuff and you just let your mind go. And that's when a song, like a chorus comes in, or a line or a hook or chords you think of. You're like, oh my God, I have to go do this now before I lose it.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So we had talked before this, and it was funny because you mentioned Jay from Boxcar and the nickname Steve Neurotic. Isn't the two of them intertwined?
Well, that's actually Derek from Boxcar. We were sitting around his old apartment. I forget what town he lived in at the time. It was.
I think it's. I don't think. Town. I think they still all live in the same town.
No, it was before they moved to Bordentown. They were further south. They were closer to Browns Mills. And it was me, I think Cooper, our second guitarist, was there. Dave was there. I think either Newman or Jay or both of them were there. And Derek's old girlfriend, I think her name was Amanda, was there. And I used to smoke regular cigarettes back then, and I, went outside to smoke because Derek didn't want, cigarettes in his apartment. Yeah. And we were sitting there talking about, how, people call him Derek Boxcar, and I said, Steve Goats or Steve with Goats. It doesn't sound right to me, even though that's what people called me. Yep. And actually, my Twitter handle is Steve with Goats, but. It didn't seem right to me. And I said, I need, a catchy moniker. And then I said, I'll be right back. I'm going to go have a cigarette. And Derek goes, dude, you were just outside 5 minutes ago. And I said, yeah, I know, but I need another one. And he goes, you're so neurotic, dude. And he goes, wait a minute. He goes, neurotic, Steve Neurotic. He goes, that's it. And, there was a bunch of people there, and it just stuck. And even today, I use that. I mean, I've, gone through stints as a professional photographer and other things, and I always use that moniker. But Derek Burgess from Boxcar is the one that gave me that moniker, and I still use it to this day. But that's how I got that moniker. I didn't just give it to myself,
Yeah. You had to get, your nickname had to be given to you by other people. It's like if you named yourself, it just wouldn't fly, and people would like rip into you because of it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people probably don't know that story and probably think I did give it to myself, but
That's awesome.
now a lot of people will know the truth.
I know, and if Derek has kind of went quiet in the message board, or the message board, my God, the Facebook group.
Right.
So hopefully he'll just say, yes, that's true. So hopefully he's listening.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about. So we met you guys at the Pavilion in Heightstown. We, again, like I said, and we played our first show with Boxcar, with Bigwig, with you guys, and then we became friends with you guys. So we were Congress of Cal at the time, and then became Landmeyer, and then you guys obviously stayed show with the Goats. But I want to talk about the Carlisle show because it was such a funny story. And we had just bought this van, which we call Bruce, and a couple interviews prior to this, I actually ended up talking about this with one of the interviews. They actually was 2 episodes ago.
Okay.
And we get this shit ass blue van, and at this time it's me and Barker and Jeff, and we'd kicked out Andy at this point. And you go, hey man, we got this show. It's down in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and we're gonna play this kid's. He had this backyard. It's a skate park, and we're like, that's awesome. So we ended up driving there, and this is before the internet was around, but we didn't have fucking cell phones with maps on and shit. So we're literally trying to find this damn place, and we have like no money. We have gas. We're trying to we fill this thing up with the gas tank up with like the little money we had, and we're driving to Carlisle. We're fucking lost the entire time. And we end up showing up, and it's like, what was that kid's name?
Colby. He was in the band Lost Cause.
Yeah.
They had a female vocalist, and they were big in the area.
Yeah. So we get there, and he's got this big backyard. He does have a tennis court with like a skate park in it.
Right.
And so we're like, awesome. So his mom's really nice. She's like cooks, grills us burgers. We all go downstairs. It's huge basement. We're all pointing out where we're gonna sleep. We're like, this is gonna be so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then we go upstairs. So we were on first, right?
Yes.
And so we get on first, and we're outside. They're just running cords out to this fucking thing. We got Jeff's drums set up. We plug in, and we play our song CK1, which is on the Happy Little Trees comp.
Right.
We literally start. It's like ding, 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 and we like dun, 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 and all of a sudden the fucking sound goes out, and we're like, there's no power, we can't play. And then that Colby kid, I think it was his birthday, wasn't it, or something like that?
I don't remember, honestly.
There's like something about it. I think it was just like it was his house, so he's just skating, and we're like, dude, like we can't fucking hear anything. And then he was just kind of like, well, I don't have to tell you. And we're like, and then how did it go south from there?
Well, what happened was it blew a fuse.
Yeah.
And he went and talked to his dad to check it out. And evidently it would have kept going out. There was nothing they could do. They didn't realize
how much power was needed,
that it was going to do that.
Yeah.
So he said, we can't have a show. He said, I'm really sorry, to me. And he said, I don't know what to tell you guys. I hate that you came all this way. He said, but let me see if I could, find something that's going on. And he found that that club that we played at. And that was like we played in front of each other. These two girls that followed us from Colby's house.
Hold on. So before we get there, though, we're pissed, and I don't think you were like trying to I think keep it calm or whatever. We're like, fuck this bullshit, and we got mad. We ended up throwing all our shit into the van. And then you go, yeah, I got us in a show. So we ended up just leaving without even saying goodbye, I think, to any. We just went downstairs, grabbed all our stuff that we had put out for sleeping there, threw it in our vans, and just took off through the kid's yard, and then drove to this club where we were told that it was with the hippos.
Yeah, and we thought it was the different hippos.
Yeah, the fucking ska band hippos.
Yeah, but it was a completely different spelling and a completely different style of band that had no following whatsoever.
Yeah, so we get there, and we get in the green room. So this is the first time I think we'd ever played a club besides Club Benet where we had a green room. So we all pile in there, and I'm thinking, oh my God. And I'm literally just having this envision of this giant show where I'm thinking, this is gonna be the biggest show we've ever played. Like, we're gonna walk from backstage. We're gonna have like 1,000 kids in front of us. This is gonna be the greatest thing ever. And we walk out, and it's like fucking metal bands playing, and we're listening, and all it is like, like you said, it's us and you guys, and those two girls who followed us from Colby's house, and this metal band, and we're like, who the fuck is this? And someone goes, oh, that's the Hippos. And it was like if you had a cartoon of just that dream, like this cloud is following me, and it just like poops over my head. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me right now.
Yeah. I felt so bad about that after that, for you guys for inviting, not that it was my fault, but
no, not at all.
Inviting you guys out there and having all that shit happen, I was just trying to, get you guys on another show with us in a place that you hadn't played before, get you exposure, but I didn't know that was going to happen. So
yeah, but I thought it was cool
obviously.
that I think it made us friends with you guys, like, just a little bit more tighter bond because we all went through it together.
Oh yeah, and we have some funny pictures from that too. There's one of me and you laying on the floor, and the camera's kind of up in the air, and we're making funny faces.
Where is that? Is that online somewhere? Because I know the one that's online is the one where we're all standing against that wall
outside. Yeah. Yep. If it's not online, I'll message it to you. It's
yeah.
a funny picture. You and I are both making these funny faces, and we were laying on the ground, and we held the camera up in the air, and I
think I remember
took it, or one of the girls took it. I can't remember. But yeah, that was a funny show. But when I think back on it, it was kind of fun in a sense too, because it was
definitely.
just so crazy, just all the events that happened and all the crap and everything. It was just kind of, you had to laugh at it now, now that you look back on it.
Well, it was funny too, because Jeff DiMaselli, who is our drummer, and he was also the drummer, later on went to be the drummer Modesty Panel. And I thought of this today too, which I thought was really fucking interesting. We play that show, we leave there, like I think the two of us went on at like 11 o'clock at night and midnight at this place, right? And so we leave because we're like 17. We were 17 this time. So we drive back home to Jersey, which was about an hour and a half, and Jeff is driving the van. And I think we got home at like 6 a.m. or something crazy, and Jeff was just like, yeah, I don't ever want to tour, because if it's like that, I never want to have that happen. And that was literally the reason, the downfall, that plus him getting his girlfriend in high school, he was like, I don't want to do the fucking band anymore, which is really the reason why Conquers a Cow technically broke up. And then we became Lanemeyer. That's why we had to get Sean and Alan, because Jeff was like, I don't want to tour. And we're like, what do you mean? That was so much, even though it was crazy, it was awesome. Like,
yeah.
Why do you not want to do that for the rest of your life? Show up and there's no one fucking there. But
yeah, you can have good and bad shows. I mean, hell, when Less Than Jake came out, the Philly show was at the Unitarian Church. There was like 15, max 20 people there, including me.
No shit.
And I mean, it takes a while, especially you never played a place before,
Yeah,
you gotta,
absolutely. I mean, it's a good introduction to just really just cutting your teeth on this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember we like got in this huge online war, and it wasn't online. I think the internet wasn't that strong, but there was like a forum, or we wrote a letter, I think, to Colby, and like just ripped on him for being such an asshole. Like in hindsight, it's like that was just so fucking stupid, because we were definitely very sensitive people, I would say. But
yeah, he said something to me about that. He was like, I don't know why they were so mad. It wasn't my fault,
we
he was like, they're so mean. I don't ever want them to come out here again. Yeah. He's like, I tried to do a good thing. It was out of my control. He was kind of pissed about that.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, we said some real. I mean, Chris was a very good lyricist, but he was also really fucking mean with his words, like very creative, but you're like, Jesus, dude, like that's some harsh shit. But so this actually leads me, because we end up becoming Lanemeyer. We played at you guys' CD release party, which leads me to the artwork for Just Another Day, because that was done by someone. I think it was they had done Less Than Jake's artwork.
Yeah, it was Peter Wonsowski. He's the one that drew the
Losing Streak.
well-known Evolution Kid logo. It's the kid with the yellow hair holding up this Pez dispenser.
Yes.
They call him Evolution Kid. He did that. And he also did the original cover of Less Than Jake's Greased album, where they cover the entire Grease soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
And on the original artwork for that cover, it's funny. If you look at the front of Just Another Day, you'll see way in the back, because, it says like Rockstar Stadium or something. It's us getting out of a limo and everything. And you'll see these security guards way in the back by the doors. And if you look close, and if you look at the original artwork of the Greased, I don't know if it's the front or the back, but it's the guys from Less Than Jake. It's how he drew them on that cover. So he drew them on the Just Another Day cover. Yeah. So a lot of people missed that, but we kind of had to pay homage to them. And since it was the same artists, we thought it would be funny to do that.
Wasn't there like some other hidden stuff in there? I remember, I thought there was something else in the crowd. There was something that was like hidden.
Well, there was the goat that's in our goat logo that I have tattooed on me. It's the evil looking goat choking a punk rock guy.
Yeah. He's on the right.
The goat from that is in the crowd, like looking evil as usual.
This is too funny. So yeah, I'm looking at it right now because I remember. I remember you telling us that. We're like, holy shit, that's crazy. Did you have that connection because you had known Les and Jake from playing that show, like at your place?
Yeah, because we, they stayed with me for a week, and I especially bonded with, I'm still friends with, the whole band, the original members, but especially Chris, because he stayed in my room on the floor in a sleeping bag.
Nice.
So, I bonded with him.
No, that's awesome. So we're about an hour, so I don't want to hold up too much. But I want to kind of get into, let me see, go back to my questions here. Now, like, how many tours do you guys actually go on?
Really, we did one East Coast tour and then one kind of like Northeast tour. And that was really it. Other than that, we played locally, and it was mainly because of other members' jobs in the band. They couldn't, commit to doing a full tour. But unfortunately, that's, as far as we got. It was Louisiana. Was as far as we got in Florida, but as far west as we got was Louisiana.
And you guys were in Springman, Avi's record.
Yeah, yep. Okay. We were the first Springman band.
That's right. That was it. It was his first release. So he flew out from like California for that show.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I remember meeting him for the first time because we ended up doing the Springman comp years later. He put on Brian's song, Alarm.
Yeah, I remember that.
We were so pissed too because we were like, "Fuck, dude! Like, he's leaving the band, and you put his fucking song on the comp."
Was it one of the Punk Rock Strike ones or the Spring Sucks?
I think it's Spring Sucks. Let me see, Springman comps. Yeah, it was. I think it was like I could say it's the last one, but I don't know if you put anything out after that. I mean, this was like 2000. Okay. Punk Rock Strike, maybe. Yeah, I totally forget, but it was so funny because everyone's like, oh yeah, this is Brian from Alarm. I'm like, God damn it, like the one last comp we get on, his fucking song gets on. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
But so at what point, what year was it you guys finally like that lineup that I knew, like when did that finally stop? Because I mean, technically, you guys obviously didn't break up, but that lineup dissolved. So when was that?
Well, we did break up for a period. We broke up in May of '99. I still have a video. I think there's a few songs from it online from our last show, which was, of course, at the Derby Firehouse.
Okay.
And what initiated that is, there was all these bigger labels were buying up all of these punk bands, Saves the Day. It was coming big, and, Humble became Midtown and blah, blah, blah. All these people were, the scene was getting competitive.
Yeah.
And I wanted no part of that. I like the days where bands helped each other out. They got each other on each other's shows. They helped get each other on comps that they were getting on. And people were starting to compete rather than help one another. And it just made me really discouraged. And we played this one show. I don't remember where it was. And there was one band that I guess didn't like us or whatever. And they went around and talked to the whole crowd. And they're like, hey, during Shower with Goat's set, chant this crap or whatever. And I don't even remember what it was. But, that kind of was the pivotal moment where I was like, you know what? I was like, this isn't fun. This isn't cool. It used to be about brotherhood and sisterhood and friendship and, helping one another. And it's just turning into something that I don't want to be a part of. And that's when I had to tell the guys, hey, I want to end the band. And we broke up for about a year. What most people don't know is we reformed kind of in secret a year later with Steve Bump as our drummer.
Okay.
And our last bass player was Todd, which was our drummer Dave, our old drummer Dave's younger brother. So we reformed and practiced for months, and we recorded a bunch of songs, including one of our most popular ones, Me Versus Myself, that was on the Punk Rock Strike comp. We recorded that, and we played one show in that lineup in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. It was some benefit that an old friend of mine, Katira, and her friend were putting on. And they said, hey, will you please play this show? And we hadn't played in so long. And Nine Lives played there, which was ex-Black Train Jack members,
Okay.
vocalist and the bassist, and several other bands. And we had a lot of fun. And then after that, things just happened. We got different jobs and everything. And we ended up having to split up the band again. And
did that bum you out? Like,
that.
did you have like a vision of really what did you see the band becoming when you were doing it?
Really, I would have been happy at the time being on a label like, back when Lookout was still a good label, or Hopeless Records or Fearless Records, something like that.
Yeah.
I never wanted to do the whole major label thing that a lot of bands were jumping onto, because you sacrifice things. You have to start doing a lot of things that you don't want to do. And music has always been a passion for me. And I didn't want it to become where I felt it was my job, where it wasn't fun, where I had to do things I didn't want to do because a label said I have to do this. So, money or no money, I never was into that. I'm sure the other guys probably were, wanted to be millionaires or whatever. But, inside, I didn't want my passion, my only release of my emotions to become a job, to become something that I dreaded, or
Yeah.
It's hard to properly put it into words, but you get the gist of what I mean.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. I mean, did you sound like you did want to make it like you wanted to be able to live off of it for the rest of your life and make music when you felt right and not be constrained by some agenda of a label to say, hey, here's the budget, you have to get this record out by this time, and you have to do it our way.
I mean, I would have been happy if we would have made enough money to, where I could have lived off of it, just, pay for an apartment, pay for my utilities and food and car payments, and, just live very modestly. If we could have done that, that would have been perfect. I never was about a big house. I always said if I ever hit the lottery and became a multimillionaire, if I did buy some huge big house, I would invite any of my friends that were, blowing money into apartments to come live, at the house and save money. I wouldn't buy it as a showpiece or just for me.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I just have a house like I live in now, just a middle class, 2-story, 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath house. I don't know. I never would have
Well,
done anything.
Technically, you did just win the lottery. I mean, I saw that.
I won $1,000 on a scratch off. That's the most I've ever won in my life.
That's so fucking awesome. It was funny because you posted that picture, and I'm looking at it, and I didn't read the 1,000 part. I'm like, holy shit, did he just win like the fucking lottery? And then I saw the 1,000. I was like, oh, but I'm like, that's still awesome. Like that must have been badass. You're like, holy shit.
I wish it would have been the big lottery so that didn't have to work anymore. But,
I think a lot of people think that the same way.
Yeah.
All right, Mel, a couple more questions, and I will let you be on your way down there in Texas. I've heard San Antonio is a badass town, by the way. I was living in Austin for a hot minute, and
Austin's cool. Yeah,
I liked it there. Do you go to shows now?
Once in a while I do. I saw Less Than Jake a few months ago in Austin. I found out they were playing there, and I started going back to college after my mother passed away, and I became my father's caretaker. He actually lives with me now because he has some brain damage and was diagnosed with the beginning stages of Alzheimer's. For like 4 or 5 hours a day, he goes to the senior center, and I started going back to school. And I'm majoring in history. I want to be a history teacher. But my whole point is a guy in one of my classes who's like 21 found out, that I'm friends with Less Than Jake because of that split I did with Chris. I don't know if we'll have time to talk about that or
we can mention
my solo thing. But when I found that out, I invited him to go see them with me, and I introduced him to them, and he got a photo with Vinny, and it was like a dream for him. I had to do that for him, so I saw them, and like I said, I've seen Dolly Rots a few times. This band, the 210s, who is friends with Dolly Rots. I've seen them. There's an Austin band, the Sweethearts, that are good that I've seen.
When you see these bands now, like, what are your thoughts on? Like, it's when I go to shows, I think it's weird because from writing music and playing in front of people and recording stuff, you have a different side of it. It's a different viewpoint.
Right.
And it gets rid of, when I first started going to shows, it was before I was in a band, and I saw that, and I was like, oh my God, this is this mythical world of where are they coming from? Like, what is backstage, and what is it like to tour? And then when you do it, you're kind of like, oh, it kind of unveils the, like the wizard from behind the curtain, and you're kind of like, oh, it's still cool, but it's a different viewpoint. So when I see bands now, it's rare that I'm blown away like I used to be. Sometimes I can be, but what are your thoughts on when you go to see bands now with the same viewpoint that you have from playing in a band?
Well, I see bands that, I'm not into, and I've seen some bands that blew me away, like the 210s. It's a two-piece band. This girl on drums and this guy on vocals and guitar, and he has this rig where his guitar also puts out a bass sound, like on a separate amp or something, so it sounds like a full three-piece, but it's only a two-piece, and they're called the 210s, and they spell it out, the words two and tens.
Okay.
They're from LA, I think, and they just put out their second record, and I was really impressed by them. I saw a band called Toxic Kid. I think they're from Iowa or someplace like that. Toxic Kid. They're like Screeching Weasel, Queers, Ramones influence type stuff. They were really good. And who moved to town recently, Emily Whitehurst, who was better known back in the day as Agent M, the singer of Tsunami Bomb.
Yeah.
She has a new solo project. It's her and a drummer, but she does all this stuff on keyboards and everything, and it's called Survival Guide, but it's spelled differently. And I saw her before she moved to San Antonio, and I was blown away. Even though it isn't punk music, she just has an amazing voice. I mean, very emphatic, and you could tell all the songs are like very, just come from her soul, come from her heart. And I try and see her, as often as I can now that she's living in the same city. And, every time I see her, I mean, she puts on a great show. I mean, just her stage presence and her performance is just off the charts. I recommend, people check out her stuff. Nice. So, I wouldn't say my viewpoint has changed. It's, the same way it used to be, that I'll watch bands, some of them you like, some of them you don't like, some of them you love, and you're like, this is my, new favorite band for this year. This is the best thing I've heard all year,
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's when that happens to me now, I'm blown away even more, because I'm not jaded by any means. It's just from doing it for so long, or just going to so many shows. If a band catches my attention and blows me away, I pay attention to it, like, even more so now, because I'm like, damn, like, even after seeing how all that stuff is done, when someone has that magic over you, even knowing all that stuff, I'm like, shit, these fuckers have it, and it's so good.
And it's rare for me to to find bands that I'm blown away by.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen too often, but like you said, when it does happen, it's like, wow. I'm very picky with what I listen to.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But
yeah.
Nowadays I'm doing a solo project.
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that real quick. And there's one more question I want to ask you at the end, but I want you to plug right now what you're up to, and between that and the label, because I know you wanted to kind of mention those.
Yeah. Well, for the past couple of years, I've been doing a solo project called Steve and the Neurotics. Basically, everything is done by me. The drum tracks are a drum machine, but I play all the bass, all the guitars, vocals, backup vocals. But on several songs, on my full length, The End of Life as We Knew It, which you could find through the Not-for-Profit Records Bandcamp, my wife actually sings on 3 of the songs. They're kind of duets, and it's a mix of everything. It's not necessarily stuff, maybe a few of the songs would fit with Shower with Goats, but it's stuff I've written over. Some of these songs I started writing even when I was in Shower with Goats, but they never fit with Shower with Goats. So it's a mix of different stuff. There's punk elements, there's indie rock, there's some stuff that's dark and more along the lines of like something Johnny Cash would write. There's one song that's kind of surf, kind of Beach Boys influence. It's called Shake. That's on our CD. And we have that out, and an EP before that in 2013 that's available digitally. And two of the songs from our full length are on a split 7-inch I did with Chris DeMakes from Less Than Jake. Around the same time I lost my mother, he lost his grandmother, and he had written this song, I'll Be Your Eyes, and it's a beautiful song. I mean, it's like a tearjerker. It's just so amazing. And the only place it was available was just on this YouTube video that he had, I think a family member put together, that is pictures of his family and his grandmother, his late grandmother and everything. And he and I had been, talked for years about doing something together. And when I mentioned, hey, I have this song I wrote about my mother when she passed away called Hey Mom. And I also have this song called Family, which is about how some of my mother's side of the family treated me and my father poorly after my mother passed away, just because they're not nice people. And they're kind of nice to us because my mother was alive, and I was her son and my dad was her husband. It was kind of like one of those things, but deep down, we knew the whole time, they weren't nice people. It just came out when she was gone. But There's a song on there called Family that's about that. And my portion of the proceeds goes to the Cancer Research Institute of New York, which is cancer being what took my mom's life. And Chris's portion of the profits go to the Tidewall Hospice Center in Port Charlotte, Florida, that took care of his grandmother for the last 6 months of her life.
Oh, wow.
And it's called We Miss You is the name of the 7-inch, a split 7-inch for charity, it says on the bottom. And it's on my label, Not For Profit Records, which I started after my mother died. I got a very small inheritance from her, and I said, you know what? I said, I don't want to go and blow this or do something stupid. I said, I want to do something good with this to, possibly bring a little bit of good out of my mother's untimely passing. And I decided I wanted to take my love of music and my love of helping people, because even before she had passed, I'd been involved with different things, donating time or donating money to places that help people in need and different organizations. So I started Not For Profit Records. You could either go notforprofitrecords.bandcamp.com or just notforprofitrecords.com. Also goes to the Bandcamp site with all the releases.
Okay. And
we have 4 releases I've put out so far. The newest are the 20th anniversary reissue on vinyl of Shower with Goat's first record, Just Another Day. And for the first time in 25 years, the reissue of Pink Lincoln's second album, Headache, which was only 500 copies were pressed in like 89 or something like that. And it was only on vinyl, and they never repressed it, never put it out digitally or on CD. And I have it on vinyl and CD and digital now. And the Shower with Goats and the Pink Lincolns, the 100% of the profits from those releases go to the Fisher Center for Alzheimer's Research. As I mentioned, my father was diagnosed about a year ago with the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, but he's on medication for it. We caught it early, so it drastically will slow the progress.
Oh, wow.
But every single release we put out goes to a different charity, depending on what the band wants. I'm planning to do a couple more releases within the next 6 months. A couple more I have in the works, and trying to find more bands that are into the idea that they don't need to make money, from this release. They want to help out an organization because I don't take a penny of profit. I get back, the money, the exact amount of money I spent to get the records and stuff pressed, and the rest gets donated to the charities. And I started that label, like I said, in honor of my mother, because I wanted to do something, good.
That's awesome, man. No, I'm on I'm on the page right now. I see like the split with Chris, and no, that's great, dude. That's amazing.
It's been hard getting the word out. So I do want to say, we could use Facebook likes on our page. We could use, people posting about it, because it's not like it used to be. And I found that out, just recently. It used to be very easily to get stuff promoted, but now there's really only two big punk websites, punknews.org and I think Dying Scene. Dying Scene has posted a couple things before. Punk News only posted about the thing with Chris DeMakes from Less Than Jake. But a lot of them, I'll send them news postings that are, pretty important, and they, refuse to post them for whatever reason. So we could really use help, word of mouth, getting the word out about the label.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I'm not making a penny off of this. This is trying to help, cure diseases, trying to help people in need. So if anybody out there, can help spread the word about not-for-profit records, it would really mean a lot to me.
Yeah, I'll definitely link to it on the when this episode comes out from the show notes. Hopefully it'll drive some, from the people listening to this. Sounds like they would they would drive it there. But cool, man. Well, I'm gonna end it on one more question, even though it's like a hard to transition from such a such a great point you just made to this, but I think this will go along with it well. But this is always the last question I always ask. What scene ethics do you still hold on to this day?
What scene ethics? Yeah. That every band that gets up on a stage has put effort into their music. I hate if, people are, when I hear people talking crap in the crowd, or if they, boo, or, things like that, like, you suck. I mean, you got to picture yourself on the receiving end of that. Like, I've never, ever done that to a band at a show, I mean, I might not like the band, but I will still clap, and I will still, act like I enjoyed them, because, I mean, especially if you're someone who doesn't play an instrument, or, doesn't have any musical talent, they're better than you, so, I mean, give them some props for at least putting effort into it. Every band, tries, they're trying, they're doing their best. And I think everyone should acknowledge that when they go to a show of smaller bands, that, someday these people in these bands could become amazing musicians. They could go on to form other bands that are like huge, you never know. But right now you're seeing them in their, beginning stages, and they're probably just as nervous as I was, during our first show and other shows. And I think people should just, keep that in mind, that you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that.